Hey, what is up you guys? It's Overlord Gaming here, and today I decided to bring you guys a commentary on why you guys shouldn't be buying Battlefield Hardline. Now, the reason why I say that you shouldn't is simply because of the fact that the past few Battlefields, such as Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and I believe it was even in Bad Company, although Bad Company wasn't as bad as the others, was simply that the netcode and the hitboxes system was complete trash. And it totally ruined the game for me and for a lot of other people. They've had many years to fix the hitbox and the netcode, and yet they haven't done so. And you get a lot of weird things, such as rubber banding around corners and having shots fired at an enemy, and they just kind of soak it up and look at you funny, and then proceed to put holes in your chest and make you into a giant bloody piece of Swiss cheese, in which kind of ruins the game for you. Another problem that was with it is simply, I guess, just how the game feels and how the game plays. A lot of times whenever I'm running or doing anything in Battlefield, it feels like my character gets stuck on a piece of daisy that's laying on the ground, and for some odd reason refuses to move and keeps getting rubber banded backwards, even though there isn't really any lag in the game. Even if my ping is like really low, it's like 20, 25, that stuff still happens, and it's just really infuriating. And things like Battlefield Hardline, I highly doubt that they fixed these problems that were in Battlefield 4 or in Battlefield 3. A lot of times what I had trouble with was whenever I played Battlefield, I would hop into a game, and then I'd go over to my selection screen to pick my kit, and all my stuff would be reset to default. Mind you, they will probably fix this later on in the game, but still, it's kind of infuriating to play a game only to have nothing earned from it other than a shiny medal saying, here you go, you got nothing for doing this, only experience. And that's infuriating within of itself. The other thing that I had problems with was even on like test range, which is basically it's akin to playing LAN. Whenever I went and played on, I think it was like Battlefield 4, I would hit the targets that are moving, and it'd be I think it's like 50, 60 meters away with an assault rifle. I'd blatantly hit them, I'd run up to them and check, and for some odd reason they just wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be knocked down at all, despite the fact that 3, 4, 5 bullets had hit it out of the 10 that I fired. And it's just really annoying and really infuriating. The other problem that I really had was that, along with all this, DICE has released basically not necessarily the total pay to win, but it is somewhat. A lot of the weapons in DLC are quite a bit ahead of other weapons that you get in your generic vanilla game. And it makes it a little bit unfair for players who either don't have the money to buy the DLC or don't necessarily want the DLC because they don't particularly like the game. And it just bothers me that DICE is doing that. It gets so highly praised that it's better than Call of Duty. It knocks Call of Duty out of the water, and in all actuality, as much as people don't like to admit it, Call of Duty has a lot better hit registration and a lot better hitbox than what Battlefield does. I mean, yes, there are problems such as rubber banding and dying around corners, but at least it's not a good 2 seconds off like it is in Battlefield, and it's just ridiculous. A lot of people were also complaining that a lot of weird stuff was happening, like I think it was in the beginning of Battlefield 4, whenever you came into the game, or you switch your classes or something, you wouldn't have your gun there, you wouldn't be able to fire, and a lot of people would just be moving guns, and there wouldn't be a character model. So a lot of times you'd run up and into a battlefield, and you'd die just randomly, you wouldn't see anyone, and then lo and behold, when you're already dead, you see them boop, pop in, and you see them perfectly there, and it's just ridiculous. Overall, I think that Battlefield does have a potential to be a extraordinarily good game. It's just they're taking it the way of Call of Duty, a smaller, faster paced arcade style shooter, and it's just not going to work with how they have their game set up, with it having all these netcode problems. Because if your weapon seems to work every 1 out of 10 games, that's not a very enjoyable game, and it's not very fun, and it just totally ruins the experience now, doesn't it? When it does work, it is extraordinarily good, it's clean, it's fun, I love it. But remember, if it's working for you, then for someone else it must be totally shit-tastic, and someone has to be on the opposite end or the receiving end of the bad luck with the game, and it has to be totally infuriating for them. I know a lot of people say, oh, Battlefield 4 was rushed, that's why it sucks, etc., etc. Even Battlefield 3 had these problems. You'd go prone, you'd lay down behind a barricade, a stone barricade, and people would shoot over to you, and guess what? You'd still die. Or you'd walk up to someone with an assault rifle, and you'd sit there and freaking unloading to them with said assault rifle, only to have them soak up your bullets and return fire, and you die within one bullet, or at least it seems that way on your screen. And that's always been the problem with Battlefield, and that's why I don't think you should buy it, along with the fact that if they're going down this route of faster pace, it's going to mean that there are a lot more gun battles, one-on-one gun battles, and with the way that DICE has their netcode right now, it doesn't necessarily appeal to me, because if I get cheated out of my kills 9 times out of 10 and die, and then only have them have this piece of equipment that can bring them back to life at, I think it's like 25% health, and shoot me in the back when I'm not paying attention, that's going to be really, really infuriating. And just the way that they're doing it is they're trying to make it appeal to Call of Duty players via reducing the skill gap and giving them free kills, and it's just I personally really don't think that Battlefield Hardline shouldn't go all that far, at least not as far as its predecessors, because not only is there going to be bad hitbox problems, bad hit registration problems, there's also going to be a large percentage of the community that resents this game simply because of the fact that they're going down the path of Call of Duty and removing a lot of the aspects that made Battlefield, and that's really what kills a franchise. I mean, if you look at Halo 4 from Halo 3, the Halo 4 community, because they changed the general formula, it dropped 70% within half a year, and that's a ridiculous amount for a AAA title. And I can really see that happening in the Battlefield. One thing that they could do to improve the game is simply just try and get the lag compensation better, and trying to get the hitbox syncing with the character models better, because what I noticed in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 was that if I shoot in front of someone to where it hit their body, it wouldn't necessarily do anything. They just keep running, and I wouldn't get any hit markers. Well, they'd be quite a ways away, so of course I'd have to shoot ahead of them. Well, instead of shooting ahead of them, I'd aim at their body, and it go behind them, because there's bullet travel time and bullet drop in that game. So I'd actually be hitting behind them and getting hit markers, and for a player that has to be extraordinarily infuriating, because you basically got killed because someone was completely missing you and shooting behind you. I'm probably gonna get a lot of guff for this, but I personally don't believe that Battlefield deserves all its praise and all of its I guess high quality and its good community, seeing as the fact of they don't necessarily do anything astounding for the community, and they don't necessarily fix huge major bugs. I mean, they do fix quite a few bugs, but 7 months down the road you still have god-awful hit registration problems and god-awful hitboxes and just a terrible netcode that's still a mess. Mind you, it's better than when it started, but it's still terrible nonetheless. So you guys tell me what you guys think of Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, and if you guys are going to be buying Battlefield Hardline, and let me know what you guys think of the commentary down in the comments below. This is Overlord signing out. I'll see you guys later.